Manhattan sparkled like a jewel box in the autumn evening. Through the windows of the Maple Avenue coffee shop, the city lights danced across tables where couples leaned into hushed conversations, their laughter punctuating the soft jazz overhead. In the corner at a table meant for two sat Olivia Winters, alone. She checked her watch for the seventh time in 3 minutes. 20 minutes late. The ceramic mug of chamomile tea had long since gone cold between her palms. Around her, happiness flourished in pairs, while she remained the solitary island in a sea of togetherness. 34 years old with a successful veterinary practice and not a soul to share it with. 2 years since her last relationship had imploded spectacularly when she discovered her fiancé with her best friend. 2 years of declining invitations and focusing on her work until Sophia from the clinic had cornered her in the break room with pleading eyes. "Just one coffee date," Sophia had insisted. "His name is Daniel Reynolds. He's brilliant, successful, and trust me, Olivia, he's nothing like Mark." The name Daniel Reynolds had stirred something in her memory. Reynolds Enterprises was a name that appeared occasionally in the business section of newspapers, a prominent architectural firm responsible for some of the most innovative buildings rising across the Manhattan skyline. Its CEO was known for being both visionary and intensely private. Olivia sighed, reaching for her purse. 20 minutes was more than courtesy demanded. She'd text Sophia that blind dates simply weren't meant for her after all. The bell above the door chimed. Olivia looked up, a flicker of hope dying as quickly as it had sparked. Instead of a man in his 30s, two identical little girls burst through the door. They couldn't have been more than 6 years old, with curly brown hair that bounced as they moved and bright green eyes that scanned the coffee shop with startling intensity. They wore matching red jackets over what looked like school uniforms, their small hands clutched tightly together. Something about their expressions sent a chill down Olivia's spine. These weren't children entering a coffee shop with the expectation of hot chocolate and cookies. Their faces carried the unmistakable weight of fear. Those wide green eyes landed on Olivia. Before she could process what was happening, the girls marched straight toward her table with the determined gait of soldiers on a mission. "Are you Miss Olivia?" the slightly taller one asked, her voice tight with urgency. Olivia blinked, setting down her purse. "Yes, I am." The girls exchanged a quick glance, a silent communication passing between them that spoke of a bond deeper than words. "I'm Lily," the taller one said, her chin lifting slightly. "This is my sister Rose. Our daddy sent us to find you." "Your daddy, Daniel Reynolds?" Olivia asked, confusion mounting. Rose, the smaller twin, glanced nervously over her shoulder toward the door. "He couldn't come. He's in trouble." Lily tugged her sister closer, their matching school uniforms pristine except for a small, dark smudge on Lily's sleeve that Olivia's trained eye recognized immediately. Not dirt, a bruise on her wrist that the child was unconsciously trying to hide with their sleeve. "What kind of trouble?" Olivia asked quietly, maternal instincts flaring despite herself. "Vanessa pushed him down the stairs last night," Lily whispered, her voice dropping to barely a breath. "She thinks we didn't see, but we were supposed to be asleep. We heard the shouting and then a terrible crash. Vanessa is our stepmother," Rose added, her voice softer than her sister's. "She's nice when Daddy's watching, but when he's not looking—" Her voice trailed off, eyes darting toward the bruise on her sister's wrist. Olivia's mind raced. This wasn't the awkward blind date scenario she'd anticipated. These children were frightened, possibly in danger. She'd worked with enough abused animals to recognize the signs of trauma when she saw them. "Daddy told us if anything ever happened to him, we should find Aunt Sophia's friend at the Maple coffee shop." Lily continued, her small voice steady despite the enormity of what she was conveying. "He said you'd know what to do." Rose reached into her small backpack and pulled out a USB drive. "Daddy hid this in Mr. Barrington last week. He said only to give it to Miss Olivia at the KB shop. No one else." The USB drive looked innocuous in the child's palm, a simple black rectangle that somehow carried the weight of whatever danger had sent these children running to a stranger. "Vanessa doesn't know we're here," Lily added, her eyes constantly checking the door. "Mrs. Ferguson, she's our babysitter, thinks we're at piano practice. She dropped us off around the corner. Daddy always says we need to be brave, but I'm scared." Rose admitted, her lower lip trembling slightly. "Vanessa said if we ever told anyone about the bad things, something terrible would happen to Daddy. And now he's hurt, and she won't let us see him." A cold clarity settled over Olivia. Whatever was happening, these children believed their father was in genuine danger. "Where is your father now?" she asked, keeping her voice calm. "Hospital," Lily replied. "Vanessa said he fell, but he didn't fall. We saw her push him." Rose suddenly stiffened, her eyes fixed on the large window facing the street. "That's her car," she whispered, genuine terror flooding her features. Olivia turned to see a sleek black Audi pulling up to the curb. Through the windshield, she caught a glimpse of a striking blonde woman, her profile sharp and elegant. "Please help us," Rose pleaded, her small hand gripping Olivia's with surprising strength. "Daddy said you would know what to do." 20 years of emergency veterinary work had taught Olivia to make decisions quickly. Animals couldn't tell you what was wrong. You had to read the signs, trust your instincts, and act without hesitation. These children were showing every sign of legitimate fear. "Come with me," she said, grabbing her purse and the USB drive. "We'll go out the back." The kitchen staff barely glanced up as Olivia led the twins through the back of the coffee shop, her hand held firmly over their joined ones. They emerged into an alley where service vehicles made deliveries, the sounds of Manhattan traffic a distant hum. "My apartment is 6 blocks from here," Olivia said, guiding them toward the street perpendicular to where the Audi had parked. "We can talk safely there." The walk passed in tense silence, the twins pressed close to Olivia's sides like frightened puppies seeking shelter. Every few moments, Lily would look behind them, her young face bearing the vigilance no child should need to possess. Olivia's apartment was on the 14th floor of a secure building. Once inside, she locked the door behind them and drew the curtains closed. "Are you hungry?" she asked, watching as the girls stood uncertainly in her living room, still holding hands. They nodded in unison, the simple question breaking through their fear. Children, after all, remain children even in crisis. While they ate sandwiches at her kitchen counter, Olivia connected the USB drive to her laptop. The contents were meticulous and chilling. Financial records, photographs, background checks, all focused on a woman named Vanessa Harris, now Vanessa Reynolds. According to the files, Vanessa Harris had been born Vanessa Mitchell. Then she became Vanessa Thompson, then Vanessa Blackwood, and finally Vanessa Harris. Each identity shift followed the same pattern: marriage to a wealthy man followed by their untimely death within 2 years. Gerald Thompson, heart failure at 52, survived by wife of 18 months, Vanessa Thompson. Richard Blackwood, fall from balcony at 48, survived by wife of 14 months, Vanessa Blackwood. Edward Harris, carbon monoxide poisoning at 56, survived by wife of 20 months, Vanessa Harris. Each death ruled accidental or natural causes, each leaving Vanessa a wealthier woman. Each investigation closed without charges. And now there was Daniel Reynolds, 42, CEO of Reynolds Enterprises, married to Vanessa Harris just 7 months ago. Father to twin daughters from his first marriage to Elizabeth Reynolds, who had died of a brain aneurysm 2 years earlier. At the bottom of the last document was a note in what Olivia assumed was Daniel's handwriting. "If you're reading this, something has happened to me. Trust no one except James Morgan, my attorney. Keep my daughter safe." Olivia looked up from the computer to find both girls watching her with solemn eyes that carried wisdom far beyond their years. "When did your father marry Vanessa?" she asked softly. 7 months ago, Lily answered. "She was nice at first. She brought us presents and took us for ice cream. Then after the wedding, everything changed." Rose continued, the twins' habit of completing each other's thoughts emerging. "She redecorated the house and put away all of Mommy's pictures. She told Daddy we needed discipline," Lily added, unconsciously rubbing her wrist. "She waits until he's at work, then she gets angry about little things, like spilled juice or shoes in the wrong place," Rose whispered. Olivia's phone rang, startling them all. The screen showed Sophia's name. "Olivia, did Daniel show up? He's not answering his phone and I'm worried. It's not like him to be late for anything." "Sophia," Olivia said, carefully aware of the twins' attentive ears. "I need to talk to you about something important, but not over the phone. Can you come to my apartment?" A pause. "This sounds serious." "It is. And Sophia, don't tell anyone where you're going." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. While they waited, Olivia helped the girls settle on her couch with a blanket, and the television turned to a children's show. Their eyelids grew heavy almost immediately, the aftermath of adrenaline and fear taking its toll. Sophia arrived breathless, her dark hair windblown from the autumn breeze. Her eyes widened at the sight of the sleeping twins. "What on earth is going on?" she whispered as Olivia pulled her into the kitchen. "Those are Daniel's daughters," Olivia explained, showing her the USB contents. "They showed up at the coffee shop saying he's in danger, that his wife pushed him down the stairs last night, and that she's abusing them when he's not around." Sophia's hand covered her mouth. "Oh my God, I knew something was off about her, but this Daniel and I have been friends since college, and he's been acting strange since the wedding. More withdrawn. I thought it was just grief resurfacing." "You've met Vanessa." "A few times. She's charming, beautiful, but there's something calculated about her. The way she watches people." Sophia shook her head. "Daniel was devastated after Elizabeth died. The twins were only 4. He focused entirely on them for over a year, and then Vanessa appeared at a charity function his company sponsored. The whirlwind romance seemed like a miracle at the time." "We need to find out which hospital Daniel is in," Olivia said. Sophia was already pulling out her phone. "I'll make some calls." She paused, looking at Olivia curiously. "Why did the girls come to you? You've never even met Daniel." "Apparently he told them if anything happened, they should find your friend at the Maple Coffee Shop." Olivia gestured to the USB. "I think he suspected something and was planning to meet me to ask for help. Look at the last file on the drive." Sophia read the document, her eyes widening. "This says you're a former member of an animal crime investigation unit." "I worked with law enforcement on animal abuse cases for 3 years before opening my own practice," Olivia confirmed. "But why would Daniel know that?" "I mentioned it when I was trying to convince him to meet you," Sophia said. "I thought it made you sound interesting, the veterinarian with a background in criminal investigation. I had no idea he'd latch on to that particular detail." Sophia's phone buzzed with an incoming message. "Daniel is at Manhattan Memorial, intensive care unit." Her face paled. The message says Vanessa has restricted all visitors except immediate family. Rose stirred on this couch, blinking awake. "Is Daddy okay?" she asked, her voice small and frightened. "We're going to find out," Olivia promised, "and we're going to keep you safe." As if on cue, Olivia's phone lit up with a notification from the building's security system. The lobby camera showed a tall blonde woman speaking with the doorman, showing him a photograph. "That's her," Lily said suddenly, wide awake and trembling. "That's Vanessa." Olivia felt a chill crawl up her spine. How did she find us so quickly? "Our phones," Rose whispered. "Daddy said Vanessa always knows where we are because of our phones." Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out a small smartphone in a pink case. "Vanessa gave these to us after the wedding. She said it was so she could always make sure we were safe." The implications were clear. Tracking software. "We need to leave," Olivia said. "Now." Sophia looked between Olivia and the twins. "My brother James lives upstate. We can go there. Vanessa doesn't know him." "We need to make a stop first," Olivia said, grabbing her emergency bag from the hall closet, a habit from her days responding to animal crisis situations. "These girls need to see their father." The hospital corridor stretched before them like an institutional maze, the antiseptic smell and fluorescent lighting creating an atmosphere of sterile urgency. Olivia and Sophia had left the twins' phones in a taxi headed toward Brooklyn, then taken another car to Manhattan Memorial. "ICU is on the 4th floor," Sophia whispered as they approached the elevator. "How are we going to get past Vanessa?" "You're going to create a distraction at the nurses' station," Olivia replied. "I'll take the girls in through the service corridor. Most hospitals have secondary access points for staff and equipment." The elevator doors opened to reveal the intensive care unit waiting area. Sitting with perfect posture in a chair facing the nurses' station was Vanessa Reynolds. Even from a distance, Olivia could see why Daniel had been captivated. Vanessa was strikingly beautiful with sleek blonde hair, pulled into an elegant chignon, her black dress and pearls, creating the perfect image of the grieving, supportive wife. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue as she spoke to a doctor in hushed tones. The twins pressed closer to Olivia, their small bodies rigid with fear. "That's Dr. Rosen," Sophia whispered. "He's known Daniel for years." She straightened her shoulders. "I'm going to talk to him. You find the service entrance." As Sophia strode purposefully toward the nurses' station, Olivia guided the twins down a side corridor marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Years of navigating hospital bureaucracy during animal rescue operations had taught her that confidence was often the only pass needed. They found Daniel's room at the end of the ICU ward. The sight of him sent a jolt through Olivia's chest. Daniel Reynolds was a man in his early 40s with strong features now marred by bruising along the left side of his face. His dark hair contrasted sharply with the white hospital linens. A ventilator hissed rhythmically, and multiple monitors tracked his vital signs with steady beeps. "Daddy," Rose whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Is he going to die?" Lily asked, her voice cracking with fear. "No," Olivia said with more confidence than she felt. "He's stable. See the monitors? They show his heart is beating strong." She helped the girls move closer to the bed, lifting them one at a time so they could see their father. Rose reached out a tentative hand to touch Daniel's arm, careful to avoid the IV lines. "We found Miss Olivia, Daddy," she whispered. "Just like you said, she's helping us." A faint movement caught Olivia's attention. Daniel's fingers twitched slightly on the blanket. "He can hear you," Olivia encouraged. "People in comas can often hear what's happening around them." "We brought your special USB. Daddy," Lily said, leaning close to his ear. "Miss Olivia saw everything about Vanessa. We're going to be okay." The door behind them swung open. Olivia's heart lurched, expecting to see Vanessa's cold elegance. Instead, Sophia slipped inside her face tight with urgency. "We need to leave. Now," she hissed. "I overheard Vanessa talking to Dr. Rosen. She's pushing for Daniel to be moved to a private facility like upstate where she can oversee his care personally. She's got paperwork showing she has his medical power of attorney." "When?" Olivia asked. "Tomorrow morning, early." A soft groan from the bed drew their attention. Daniel's eyelids fluttered, and for a brief moment he seemed to focus on the twins at his bedside. His lips moved, forming words without sound. Olivia leaned closer. "What is he trying to say?" "Safe," Lily translated with the certainty of a child who knew her father's every expression. "He wants to know if we're safe." "We're with Miss Olivia, Daddy," Rose assured him. "She's going to protect us until you get better." Daniel's eyes shifted to Olivia, filled with pain, but also clear recognition. His hand moved weakly toward the call button beside his bed. "He wants us to call someone," Sophia guessed. But Daniel shook his head slightly, his fingers moving to tap a pattern on the blanket. "Morse code," Olivia realized. "He's using Morse code." She watched his finger movements. "James, James," the attorney mentioned in his note. "James Morgan," Sophia confirmed. "He's Daniel's oldest friend and personal attorney. If anyone knows what legal protections Daniel might have put in place, it's James." Daniel's eyes closed again, the brief moment of consciousness exhausting his limited strength. A machine beeped more rapidly, indicating elevated heart rate. "We need to go," Olivia said, the professional calm she'd cultivated during emergency veterinary situations taking over. "If his condition changes, the staff will come in." "What about Daddy?" Rose asked, reluctant to leave her father's side. "We're going to get help," Olivia promised. "Your father was smart enough to prepare for this. He left clues for us to follow, and we're going to use them to keep all of you safe." As they slipped out through the service corridor, Olivia caught a glimpse of Vanessa at the nurse's station. Her beautiful face was composed in an expression of worried devotion, but something cold and calculating lurked beneath the surface of Predator's patience as she waited for her wounded prey. James Morgan's office occupied the top floor of a sleek midtown building. The reception area screamed old money and discretion, with leather furniture and oil paintings of stern-faced men in judicial robes. "Mr. Morgan is in court until 5. The receptionist informed them with practiced politeness. "I can schedule you for tomorrow morning." "This is an emergency involving Daniel Reynolds," Sophia insisted. "James will want to see us immediately." At the mention of Daniel Reynolds, the receptionist's professional demeanor cracked slightly. "I'll see if I can reach him." They waited in tense silence, the twins huddled together on a leather sofa, far too large for their small frames. 20 minutes later, the elevator doors opened, and James Morgan strode in, tall, imposing with silver-streaked dark hair and the confident bearing of someone accustomed to commanding rooms. His eyes landed first on Sophia, recognition and concern flashing across his features, then shifted to the twins. "Lily, Rose." His voice softened as he knelt to their level. "What's happened?" "Vanessa hurt Daddy," Lily said without preamble. "She pushed him down the stairs and now he's in the hospital and she won't let us see him." James's expression darkened. He rose to his full height and turned to the receptionist. "Cancel my appointments for the rest of the day and initiate Protocol 7. The receptionist nodded and immediately began typing. My private office, James said, guiding them through heavy wooden doors into a space that felt more like a library than a legal office. Once inside with the doors firmly closed, James turned to Olivia. And you are Olivia Winters. I was supposed to meet Daniel last night for a blind date arranged by Sophia. Instead, the twins found me at the coffee shop with this. She handed him the USB drive. James inserted it into his computer, scanning the contents quickly, his expression growing increasingly grim. Daniel came to me 3 months ago with suspicions about Vanessa, he said finally. We hired private investigators to look into her background. What they found was disturbing to say the least. 3 dead husbands, Olivia said. All wealthy, all accidental deaths. James nodded. Daniel discovered inconsistencies in her background shortly after they married. Little things at first, stories that didn't quite match up, references to people who didn't seem to exist. By then, he'd already noticed concerning behavior toward the twins when she thought he wasn't watching. She hurts us, Rose said quietly, not where people can see, and she tells us if we say anything, she'll make Daddy go away like our real mommy did. James's jaw tightened. Daniel was gathering evidence for divorce proceedings and criminal charges. He was planning to move against her this week. And she somehow found out, Sophia concluded. The timing suggests as much. James turned to Olivia. Daniel arranged to meet you as a neutral third party, someone with investigative experience who could help document the children's accounts without being connected to his legal team or family circle. But why not go directly to the police, Olivia asked. Vanessa has cultivated significant social connections in the 7 months she's been Mrs. Reynolds, James explained, including with the police commissioner's wife. Daniel feared that without ironclad evidence, she might be able to spin the situation. Her previous husbands all died under circumstances that raised questions, but never enough for formal charges. So what do we do now? Sophia asked. Vanessa is moving Daniel to a private facility tomorrow. Given what we know about her, that can't be good. First, we ensure the children's safety, James said decisively. Daniel put contingency plans in place. There's a safe house upstate registered to a shell corporation. Vanessa has no knowledge of its existence. What about legal protection? Olivia asked. She's their stepmother. Won't she have some claim to custody while Daniel is incapacitated? Not according to the documents Daniel signed 3 weeks ago, James said, pulling a file from his desk. He updated his will and established a temporary guardianship protocol in case of emergency. Sophia is named as the twins' guardian if Daniel is incapacitated. Sophia's eyes widened. He never told me. He hoped it would never be necessary, James said grimly. The documents are filed with the court but sealed. Vanessa has no way of knowing they exist. A soft knock interrupted them. The receptionist opened the door a crack. Sir, there's a breaking news alert you should see. James turned on the television mounted on the wall. The screen showed a somber news anchor. We're receiving reports that police have issued an Amber Alert for twin 6-year-old girls believed to have been abducted from their Upper East Side home earlier today. Lily and Rose Reynolds, daughters of Reynolds Enterprises CEO Daniel Reynolds, were last seen with their babysitter who reported dropping them off at piano lessons this afternoon. When the music teacher confirmed the children never arrived, authorities were notified. The girls' stepmother, Vanessa Reynolds, made an emotional plea for their safe return just moments ago. The screen cut to Vanessa Reynolds, tears streaming down her perfect face as she clutched a photograph of the twins. Please, she begged, her voice breaking. My husband is fighting for his life in the hospital, and now our precious girls are missing. If anyone has seen them, please contact the police immediately. Lily Rose, if you can hear this, somehow Mommy loves you and wants you home safe. She's not our mommy, Lily whispered fiercely, her small hand balled into fists. James muted the television. This complicates matters. She's playing a clever game, positioning herself as the distraught mother while painting anyone helping the children as kidnappers. We need to move quickly, Olivia said. If she's issued an Amber Alert, every law enforcement agency in the area will be looking for these girls. My car is in the private garage below, James said. We can leave from there without being seen. I'll contact Judge Harmon. She can expedite an emergency hearing on the guardianship documents. What about Daniel? Sophia asked. If we leave, Vanessa will have complete control over his medical care. I'll handle that personally, James assured her. Daniel granted me medical power of attorney concurrent with Vanessa's of facts she doesn't know. I can block any transfer until he's stable enough to speak for himself. As they prepared to leave, Rose tugged on Olivia's sleeve. Miss Olivia, before we go, can we check Daddy's special box? He always said if something bad happened, we should look in the box with Mommy's things. Special box? Olivia asked. It's at our house, Lily explained, behind Mommy's picture in Daddy's office. The code is Mommy's birthday. Vanessa doesn't know about it, Rose added. Daddy said it's our secret place for important things. James and Sophia exchanged glances. The Reynolds mansion will be crawling with police by now, James said. We can't risk going there. But Daddy said it's super important, Lily insisted. He made us memorize the code and promise we'd remember. What's in this box? Olivia asked gently. Special things, Rose said. Mommy's necklace that Daddy gave her when they got married. Letters, and Daddy put something new in there last week. He didn't think we saw, but we did. What was it? James asked, suddenly alert. A little black book, Lily answered, and some papers. He said it was insurance. Insurance against what? Sophia wondered. Against bad people, Rose whispered. That's what he told Mrs. Ferguson when she asked why he was working late all those nights. He said he needed insurance against bad people. Olivia looked at the twins' determined faces and made a decision. I think we need to get that box. These girls have been brave enough to find me and trust us with their safety. If Daniel thought the contents of that box were important enough to make his daughters memorize the access code, then it must be crucial. It's too dangerous, James argued. The mansion will be under surveillance. Not necessarily the way we'd go, Olivia countered. I spent 3 years working with law enforcement on investigation teams. I know how they operate during these situations. They'll focus on obvious entry points and places the children might hide. We can use that to our advantage. How? Sophia asked. The service entrance, Olivia said. Most wealthy homes have separate access points for staff and deliveries. The police will secure main entrances, but often overlook service areas, especially in the initial hours. James considered this. The Reynolds mansion does have a service tunnel connecting to the garage complex. It was an original feature of the house built in the 1920s when servants were expected to remain unseen. Can you access it without being detected? Olivia asked. Possibly. I have the security codes. Daniel insisted I keep them in case of emergency. James looked at the twins. Where exactly is your father's office, and where is this box hidden? Second floor west wing, Lily answered promptly. The office with the big windows overlooking the garden. The box is behind Mommy's picture, Rose added. The big one on the wall. It slides to the side if you push the corner. Sophia should take the girls to the safe house, Olivia decided. James can show me how to access the service entrance and then I'll retrieve the box. I'm going with you, James said firmly. Daniel is my oldest friend. If there's something in that house that can protect him and his daughters, I need to be part of retrieving it. As darkness fell over Manhattan, Olivia found herself in the passenger seat of James Morgan's black sedan, driving toward the Upper East Side mansion where Daniel Reynolds and his daughters had lived, where a predator had inserted herself into their lives with calculated precision. Turn here, James instructed, guiding the car into an alley behind a row of elegant brownstones. The service entrance is accessed through the neighboring property. Daniel purchased it 3 years ago as a privacy buffer. They parked in a nondescript garage and proceeded on foot through a narrow passage that eventually led to a small door set into the garden wall of the Reynolds mansion. Police cruisers were visible on the street out front, their lights casting rhythmic blue patterns across the manicured lawn. James entered a code on a keypad disguised as a garden light fixture. The door unlocked with a soft click. We have 7 minutes before the security system resets, he whispered. After that, silent alarms will trigger. The service tunnel was narrow and dimly lit, smelling of earth and old stone. It opened into what appeared to be a pantry adjacent to the mansion's kitchen. The house was eerily quiet, a stark contrast to what Olivia imagined it would normally be with 2 active 6-year-olds in residence. They moved silently through the kitchen and up a back staircase, avoiding the main halls where police officers might be stationed. The second floor was dark moonlight, filtering through tall windows to cast long shadows across plush carpets. This way, James murmured, guiding her toward the west wing. Daniel's office was exactly as the twins had described. A spacious room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking what would be, in daylight, a magnificent garden. Bookshelves lined one wall, while the opposite featured a large portrait of a beautiful woman with curly brown hair and the same striking green eyes as the twins. Elizabeth Reynolds, the first Mrs. Reynolds, the mother who had died too young, leaving her daughters vulnerable to a predator. The picture, Olivia whispered, moving toward the portrait. James kept watch at the door while Olivia examined the frame. Just as Rose had said, the corner had a subtle indentation. When pressed, the entire portrait slid sideways, revealing a wall safe. The code is Elizabeth's birthday, James provided. April 12th. Olivia entered 0412 on the keypad. The safe clicked open. Inside were exactly the items the twins had described. A pearl necklace in a velvet box, a bundle of letters tied with blue ribbon, and a small black leather notebook. Beneath these lay a sealed envelope labeled simply, "Evidence," in bold handwriting. Olivia gathered everything, securing them in her jacket pockets, and carefully closed the safe. The portrait slid back into place just as voices became audible from the hallway. "Check all the rooms again," a male voice ordered. "The stepmother insists the children might have returned home and be hiding." James gestured urgently toward a door on the far side of the office. They slipped through just as the office door opened, finding themselves in what appeared to be Daniel's private bathroom. "There's no exit," Olivia whispered, heart pounding. "Wait," James breathed, running his fingers along the decorative paneling. One section depressed slightly, revealing another hidden door, this one leading to a narrow passage between the walls. "Old houses," James murmured with grim satisfaction. Daniel restored all the original features, including the servant passages. They squeezed into the narrow corridor just as flashlight beams swept the bathroom. The passage led them down to the first floor and eventually back to the service tunnel. 7 minutes later, they were in James's car, driving away from the Upper East Side mansion with no one the wiser. "What did we get?" James asked once they were safely on the highway heading north. Olivia opened the small black notebook first. Inside were dates, times, and brief notations in what must be Daniel's handwriting. "It's a journal," she said, flipping through the pages. "He's been documenting incidents. Overheard phone calls, suspicious behavior, things the twins told him about Vanessa when he wasn't home." The sealed envelope contained photographs of Vanessa meeting with unknown men in locations far from the Reynolds mansion. Close-ups of bruises on the twins' arms and legs. Screenshots of financial transactions showing large sums being moved from Daniel's personal accounts to offshore locations. "He built a case," James said grimly. "Methodical, thorough, exactly like Daniel." The final page of the notebook contained a single line, "Safe box at Manhattan Trust Box 721, key in Elizabeth's locket." Olivia reached for the pearl necklace. The clasp appeared ordinary at first glance, but upon closer inspection, a tiny compartment was visible. Inside was a safe deposit box key. "He thought of everything," Olivia whispered, a newfound admiration for Daniel Reynolds blooming alongside her concern. This was a man who protected what he loved with intelligence and foresight. "Manhattan Trust doesn't open until morning," James noted. "We should get to the safe house first. Make sure the twins are secure." The safe house turned out to be a charming lakeside cottage 2 hours north of Manhattan, secluded at the end of a winding private road. Sophia's car was already parked outside, the warm glow of lights visible through curtained windows. Inside, they found Sophia making hot chocolate while the twins sat at a rustic kitchen table, their small faces lighting up at the sight of Olivia and James. "Did you get Daddy's special box?" Rose asked immediately. "We did," Olivia confirmed, pulling out the pearl necklace. "Your mother's necklace was inside, just like you said." Lily reached for it reverently. "Mommy wore this at special times. Daddy said it was his first gift to her." As the twins examined the necklace, James pulled Sophia aside, updating her on what they'd found. Olivia joined them, leaving the girls momentarily distracted by their mother's memento. "We need to access that safe deposit box first thing tomorrow," James said. "Whatever final piece of evidence Daniel secured there could be crucial." "What about Daniel himself?" Sophia asked. "Have you been able to prevent the transfer?" "My associate filed an emergency injunction," James confirmed. "Vanessa can't move him for at least 48 hours while the court reviews the competing power of attorney documents." A sudden ringing interrupted their conversation. James pulled out his phone, frowning at the unfamiliar number. "Morgan, he answered cautiously. His expression changed as he listened, shock giving way to grim determination. Put him on. James pressed the speaker button and a weak, raspy voice filled the kitchen. James, are my girls safe? The twins' heads snapped up at the sound. Daddy, they cried in unison, rushing toward the phone. Daniel, James said, his professional demeanor cracking. How are you calling? Where are you? Borrowed a phone, Daniel Reynolds rasped. Nurse, sympathetic, not much time. Vanessa will be back soon. Your daughters are safe, Olivia said, leaning toward the phone. We have them at the safe house. Olivia Winters. The voice sounded surprised but relieved. You found them, thank God. We're all here, Daniel, Sophia added. James, Olivia, the twins and me. Listen carefully, Daniel said, his voice growing weaker. Safe deposit box. Manhattan Trust. We know, James assured him. We found your notebook and the key. Birth certificates, Daniel whispered. Original birth certificates. Proof. Proof of what? Olivia asked. The other women, she wasn't who she claimed to be for them either. Pattern, evidence, all there. A commotion was audible in the background. She's coming, Daniel whispered urgently. Whatever happens, protect my girls. Promise me. We promise, James and Olivia said together. Daddy, we love you, Lily called out. Be brave, my angels. Daniel managed before the line went dead. The kitchen fell silent, the implications of Daniel's call hanging heavy in the air. He had regained consciousness enough to reach out to confirm what they already suspected. Vanessa Reynolds was a predator who had targeted wealthy men before, and Daniel had collected the evidence to prove it. He called us angels, Rose whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks, like Mommy used to. That's what you are, Olivia said softly, kneeling to the girl's level. Brave angels who found help just like your daddy taught you. And now we're going to make sure you stay safe until he gets better. Promise? Lily asked, her green eyes intense with hope and fear. Olivia looked at these two small children who had shown such courage at James and Sophia, who had dropped everything to protect them, and at the evidence they'd gathered from a father fighting to protect his family from a threat no one else recognized. I promise, Olivia said with absolute conviction. Your father prepared for this. He left us everything we need to keep you safe and bring Vanessa to justice. We just need to follow the trail he created. Outside the cottage windows, night had fully descended, the moon casting silver light across the lake's surface. Somewhere in Manhattan, Daniel Reynolds lay in a hospital bed, vulnerable, but fighting. His daughters were safe for now, but the danger remained as long as Vanessa Reynolds walked free. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, the safe deposit box, legal battles over Daniel's care, and the continuing threat of a woman who had already escaped justice 3 times before. But for tonight, in this moment, 2 little girls were safe, surrounded by people committed to protecting them. And for Olivia Winters, what had begun as a simple blind date had transformed into something far more significant, a mission to protect a family under siege. A chance to use her investigative skills for the highest purpose, and perhaps, though she dared not admit it yet, the beginning of a connection to a man she had never met, but whose courage and foresight she already admired. The protector had become the protected, and now it fell to Olivia to become the protector in turn. Dawn broke over the lakeside cottage with tentative fingers of light stretching across the still water. Olivia stood at the window coffee mug, warming her palms, watching as mist rose from the lake's surface like ghosts dancing on water. She had slept little, her mind racing with the responsibility that had fallen unexpectedly into her hands. Behind her, the twins slept curled together on the sofa bed, their small bodies intertwined, as if even in sleep they sought to protect one another. Lily's arm was draped protectively over her sister Rose's face, half buried in the crook of her twin's neck. Their matching breaths rose and fell in perfect synchronicity. James entered the kitchen silently, his normally immaculate appearance showing signs of the previous night's tension. He poured himself coffee and joined Olivia at the window. Manhattan Trust opens at 9, he said quietly. We need to be there when the doors open. What about the twins? Olivia asked. We can't take them into the city, not with an Amber Alert active. Sophia will stay with them here. The property is registered to a shell corporation 3 times removed from Daniel's name. Vanessa has no way to trace it. Olivia nodded, her gaze returning to the sleeping children. They've been through so much. Their mother dies, their father remarries a woman who abuses them, and now their father is fighting for his life while they're in hiding. Daniel would never have married Vanessa if he'd known who she really was. James said, a protective edge hardening his voice. He spent 2 years focusing solely on the twins after Elizabeth died. Then Vanessa appeared charming, beautiful, seemingly perfect with the girls. She played her role flawlessly until the ring was on her finger. How soon did he become suspicious? 3 months in, he noticed bruises on Rose's arm. When he questioned Vanessa, she claimed Rose had fallen from the swing set. But that night, Lily whispered to him that Vanessa had grabbed Rose for spilling juice on the new carpet. James's jaw tightened. Daniel installed hidden cameras the next day and caught her in the act. She was too clever for that. Somehow she discovered the cameras almost immediately, played the perfect stepmother whenever she was in a monitored room. That's when Daniel realized what he was dealing with, someone dangerously intelligent and calculating. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist. In the growing light, Olivia could see the full scope of the property, a substantial piece of land with thick woods providing natural privacy barriers. A haven in normal circumstances. A fortress now. "We should leave within the hour," James said. "Manhattan Trust is in the financial district. If we time it right, we can be in and out before Vanessa or the police realize we've surfaced." Sophia joined them, her voice hushed to avoid waking the twins. "I've been monitoring the news. Vanessa gave another press conference last night playing the devastated stepmother perfectly. She's offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the girls' return." "She's painting us as kidnappers," Olivia realized. "While positioning herself as their loving mother," James confirmed grimly, "she's controlling the narrative masterfully." Movement from the sofa bed caught their attention. Rose was sitting up, rubbing her eyes, her small face serious in the morning light. "Is Daddy okay?" she asked immediately, the weight of worry evident in her childish voice. "We haven't heard anything new," Sophia said gently, moving to sit beside her. "But no news is good news. It means your father is stable." "Vanessa is looking for us," Lily stated flatly, now awake and alert beside her sister. It wasn't a question, but a certainty. "She is," Olivia confirmed, believing in honesty even with children. "But she doesn't know about this place. You're safe here with Sophia while James and I go into the city to get what's in your father's safe deposit box." "The proof," Rose said solemnly. "Daddy said it was very important." "The most important," Lily added. "He made us promise that if anything happened, we'd tell someone about the box." Something about the intensity of their young faces prompted Olivia to ask, "Did your father tell you what was in it?" The twins exchanged one of their silent communications in a language of subtle expressions understood only by them. "Pictures," Rose said finally, "and papers." "Daddy said they were like the breadcrumbs in the fairy tale," Lily explained. "The ones that help you find your way home." A chill ran along Olivia's spine at the child's words. Daniel Reynolds had known he was in danger, had prepared meticulously for the worst-case scenario, had left a trail for someone to follow a trail that now fell to her and James to uncover. "We'll follow those breadcrumbs," Olivia promised, "and they will lead us back to your father." The drive into Manhattan took just under 2 hours, the landscape transforming from rural tranquility to suburban sprawl, and finally to the imposing verticality of the city. James drove with focused precision, his silver Audi unremarkable among the morning commuter traffic. "We need to be prepared for the possibility that Vanessa has already attempted to access Daniel's safe deposit box," James said as they navigated through Midtown. "She may have claimed spousal rights. Would the bank allow that? Not without proper documentation. Safe deposit boxes are one of the few financial instruments that remain private and protected. The bank would require Daniel's key, which Vanessa doesn't have, or a court order, which she hasn't had time to obtain. So we're in a race against time," Olivia concluded, "a race we need to win." Manhattan Trust occupied a stately limestone building that exuded old-world financial solidity. They arrived 10 minutes before opening, joining a small cluster of people waiting for the doors to unlock. James had insisted they dress the part, he in a perfectly tailored suit, Olivia in a conservative dress and blazer borrowed from Sophia. They looked like any other financial professionals starting their day. At precisely 9 o'clock, the heavy brass doors swung open. James guided Olivia through the marble-floored lobby to a discreet desk marked Private Client Services. "Good morning," he greeted the impeccably dressed woman behind the desk. "James Morgan, an associate to Access Box 721. "Of course, Mr. Morgan. May I see your identification and the key, please?" James produced his driver's license and the small key from Elizabeth's locket. The woman examined both carefully before nodding. "Mr. Reynolds has you listed as an authorized accessor," she confirmed. "Please follow me." They were led through a series of secure doors into the vault area. The woman retrieved box 721 from the wall of identical metal containers and placed it on a private table in a small viewing room. "Take all the time you need," she said, closing the door behind her. The safe deposit box was surprisingly small for something that potentially held the key to saving a man's life. James opened it carefully, his movements deliberate despite the urgency they both felt. Inside were several items, a USB drive, similar to the one the twins had delivered, a sealed envelope marked insurance, and a small velvet jewelry box. "Let's start with the envelope," James suggested. Inside were original birth certificates, not for the twins, but for three different women: Miranda Mitchell, born 1980 in Cleveland; Rebecca Taylor, born 1978 in Phoenix; Vanessa Collins, born 1981 in Seattle. With the birth certificates were three death certificates, each showing the same date, March 17, 2018. "What is this?" Olivia whispered, the implications beginning to form a disturbing picture. "Proof that Vanessa Reynolds, or whatever her real name is, has been stealing identities," James said, examining the documents with growing alarm. "These women all died on the same day, 5 years ago." "A car accident," Olivia guessed. "Or something made to look like an accident," James said darkly. "She's been using their identities to create new personas, marry wealthy men, and then eliminate them for their fortunes." The USB drive contained more damning evidence: newspaper clippings about a multiple fatality car crash near the Canadian border in 2018, financial records showing patterns of money movement following the deaths of Vanessa's previous husbands, and surveillance photos of Vanessa meeting with unknown men in various cities. The final item, the jewelry box, held a single diamond earring and a handwritten note from Daniel. "If you're reading this, I'm either dead or incapacitated. The matching earring to this one was found in our home after Elizabeth's collapse. It doesn't belong to Elizabeth. The DNA on it doesn't match anyone in our family. I believe Vanessa was in our home the day Elizabeth died. This is not proof, but it's a lead. Follow it. For my daughters, for Elizabeth, for justice. Daniel." Olivia felt the breath leave her lungs. "He thinks Vanessa had something to do with his first wife's death." "The aneurysm," James said slowly. "Elizabeth had no history of vascular issues. It was sudden, unexpected. Could it have been induced somehow? Certain toxins can cause symptoms mimicking aneurysms." James confirmed, his legal mind processing the implications. "Daniel must have begun investigating Elizabeth's death and found connections to Vanessa. Which means Vanessa didn't randomly target Daniel after Elizabeth died," Olivia concluded. "She targeted Elizabeth first, then positioned herself to marry the wealthy widower, making her even more dangerous than we thought. And they carefully packed the contents back into the safe deposit box, making digital copies of everything with their phones." As they prepared to leave, James paused. "We can't return to the safe house immediately," he said. "We need to take this evidence to someone who can act on it, someone not connected to Vanessa's social circle." "Who did you have in mind?" "FBI Special Agent Catherine Maxwell. She specializes in complex financial crimes. Daniel and I consulted with her on a case last year involving corporate espionage. She's incorruptible and thorough." "Can we trust her with the twins' safety?" "She's a mother herself. Once she sees this evidence, she'll understand the stakes." As they exited Manhattan Trust, neither noticed the dark sedan parked across the street, its driver speaking urgently into a phone. The FBI field office occupied several floors of a nondescript federal building. James and Olivia passed through security and were escorted to a conference room where Special Agent Catherine Maxwell awaited them. She was a tall woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, her sharp eyes missing nothing as they entered. "James," she greeted without preamble, "your message said this was urgent and sensitive." "Thank you for seeing us, Catherine. This is Dr. Olivia Winters." "The veterinarian mentioned in the Amber Alert," Agent Maxwell noted, "currently wanted for questioning regarding the alleged kidnapping of Daniel Reynolds' daughters." Olivia felt her pulse quicken. "The twins weren't kidnapped. They came to me for help because their stepmother has been abusing them and may have attempted to kill their father." "That's a serious allegation," Maxwell said, her expression neutral. "I assume you have evidence." James placed the copies from the safe deposit box on the table. "Daniel Reynolds has been building a case against his wife Vanessa for months. He believes she's responsible for the deaths of 3 previous husbands and may have been involved in his first wife's death as well. Agent Maxwell listened without interruption as they laid out the evidence, the identity theft, the pattern of marriages followed by suspicious deaths, the financial trails, and finally the earring that has suggested Vanessa's presence in the Reynolds home when Elizabeth died. If even half of this is accurate, you're describing a sophisticated Black Widow killer, Maxwell said when they finished. But why bring this to me rather than NYPD? This would fall under their homicide division. Vanessa has cultivated social connections throughout Manhattan, including with high-ranking police officials, James explained. Daniel feared any local investigation might be compromised. And the twins? Where are they now? Safe, Olivia said firmly. And they'll remain that way until we know Vanessa can't harm them. Maxwell studied them both, her experienced eyes measuring their credibility. I need to authenticate these documents. That will take time. In the meantime, Miss Winters, you're still technically a person of interest in a kidnapping case. I understand, Olivia said, but those girls came to me terrified. I couldn't turn them away. No, I suppose you couldn't, Maxwell agreed, something softening briefly in her professional demeanor. Wait here. When the door closed behind her, Olivia turned to James. Will she help us? Catherine follows evidence, not politics. If she believes Daniel's life is in danger, she'll act. 20 minutes passed before Maxwell returned, accompanied by another agent carrying a laptop. We've been monitoring Daniel Reynolds' condition through hospital records, Maxwell said, setting the laptop on the table. There's been a development. This was recorded by hospital security an hour ago. The video showed a hospital corridor outside what must be Daniel's room. Vanessa Reynolds stood speaking with a doctor, her body language deferent and concerned. As a nurse exited Daniel's room, Vanessa glanced quickly both ways, then slipped something from her purse into her palm. When the doctor looked down at a chart, she pressed her hand briefly to the nurse's arm, a gesture that might appear comforting to casual observation. What did she just do? Olivia asked, leaning closer. Watch the nurse, Maxwell instructed. On screen, the nurse returned to Daniel's room. Minutes later, alarms began flashing. Medical staff rushed in. Vanessa's performance of shocked concern was flawless. The nurse collapsed shortly after this footage was recorded, Maxwell said grimly. Initial toxicology indicates fentanyl absorption through the skin, likely from a patch or gel Vanessa transferred during that brief contact. She was trying to get to Daniel, James realized, using the nurse as an unwitting delivery system. Fortunately, the nurse received immediate medical attention and is recovering. Mr. Reynolds was not affected. Maxwell closed the laptop. This footage, combined with the evidence you've provided, gives me enough to open a federal investigation and place Mrs. Reynolds under surveillance. What about the twins? Olivia pressed. They're still listed as kidnapping victims. I'll need to interview them, Maxwell said, verify their well-being, and take their statements about the alleged abuse. Once that's documented, we can provide protective custody. They won't respond well to strangers in official capacities, Olivia cautioned. They've been traumatized. Which is why you'll be present during the interview, Maxwell conceded, as will a child psychologist. This needs to be handled by the book if we're going to build a case that will stick. And Daniel, James asked, he remains vulnerable as long as he's in that hospital. I'm assigning agents to guard his room immediately, Maxwell assured them. No one gets in without proper clearance and thorough screening. A sharp knock interrupted them. Another agent entered with an urgent expression. Agent Maxwell, we have a situation. Vanessa Reynolds just called a press conference. It's broadcasting live now. Maxwell activated the wall-mounted television mon. Vanessa Reynolds stood at a podium outside Manhattan Memorial Hospital, the picture of elegance even in distress. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a modest chignon, her black dress appropriately somber. Tears glistened in her eyes as she addressed the assembled press. It's been 24 hours since my beloved stepdaughters were taken, she began, her voice trembling perfectly. 24 hours of unimaginable fear and worry. To whoever has Lily and Rose, please, I beg you, they're just innocent children. They need their family. Their father remains in critical condition, asking for them whenever he regains consciousness. The camera panned to show a photograph of the twins displayed on an easel beside the podium, the girls smiling in matching summer dresses, Vanessa's arm around them in a maternal embrace. We've now learned that a woman named Olivia Winters may have been involved in their disappearance. Vanessa continued as Olivia's professional headshot from her veterinary practice website appeared on screen. If anyone has seen Dr. Winters or my daughters, please contact the authorities immediately. To Dr. Winters, if you're watching this, these children have already lost one mother. Please don't keep them from their family during this traumatic time. James muted the television as Vanessa began taking questions from reporters. She's good, Maxwell said with professional assessment. Completely believable. She's had practice, Olivia replied bitterly. 3 husbands' worth of grieving widow performances. This complicates matters, Maxwell noted. Your face is now being broadcast across every news channel in the tri-state area. We need to move forward with interviewing the twins immediately, James urged, before Vanessa can further control the public narrative. Agreed, Maxwell said decisively. Dr. Winters, can you arrange to bring the children to a secure location for the interview? They trust me, Olivia acknowledged, but they'll be frightened by official proceedings. We'll keep it as informal and gentle as possible, Maxwell promised. Our child psychologist specializes in trauma. The girls won't be pressured. Then yes, I can bring them. Good. Maxwell checked her watch. It's nearly noon. We can set everything up at our satellite office in White Plains by 3. It's less intimidating than this building with private facilities for sensitive interviews. White Plains works, James confirmed. It's closer to the safe house than coming all the way into Manhattan. As they finalized the logistics, Olivia's phone chimed with an incoming text from Sophia. CNN showing the press conference. The girls saw Vanessa and got very upset. Rose having trouble breathing? Please advise. Anxiety clutched at Olivia's chest. The twins are in distress. Sophia says Rose is having breathing problems. Possible panic attack, Maxwell suggested. Not uncommon in traumatized children. I need to get back to them, Olivia insisted, already standing. I'll come with you, James said. Catherine, we'll meet you in White Plains at 3. I'll have an agent follow at a distance, Maxwell decided. For your protection, the public now sees Dr. Winters as a kidnapper, which creates additional risks. The drive back to the safe house seemed interminable. Olivia stared out the window, watching the city give way to suburbs and then to the more rural landscape beyond, her mind filled with images of a frightened child struggling to breathe. Rose will be okay, James said, sensing her worry. Sophia would have called if it was a medical emergency. Panic attacks can feel like dying, especially to a child, Olivia replied. I've seen it in trauma cases with animals. Fear is a powerful physiological trigger. You've dealt with trauma in your veterinary work. I specialized in rescue animals for several years, creatures who'd been abused, neglected, or abandoned. Their fear responses are remarkably similar to human trauma reactions. That explains why Daniel specifically wanted you to meet the twins, James reflected. He knew you'd recognize the signs, believe their accounts without question. I just wish I'd gotten to the coffee shop earlier, Olivia admitted. Maybe I could have prevented his accident somehow. Daniel had been planning contingencies for weeks, James assured her. The coffee shop meeting was just one element of a larger strategy. If not that day, he would have found another way to connect you with the twins. They arrived at the safe house to find Sophia on the porch, her face tight with concern. Rose is better now, she reported as they approached. The breathing episode passed, but she's withdrawn, barely speaking. Inside, they found the twins in the living room. Lily sat protectively beside her sister on the sofa, their small shoulders touching. Rose clutched a stuffed rabbit to her chest, her face, pale eyes distant. Rose, Olivia said gently, kneeling before the child. I hear you had a scary time while we were gone. Rose didn't respond, her gaze fixed on something only she could see. She gets like this sometimes, Lily explained, her arm around her sister. After Vanessa is mean to her, Daddy calls it Rose's quiet place. It's a way of protecting herself, Olivia explained to James and Sophia. A retreat when reality becomes too frightening. She kept her voice soft, speaking more to Rose than the adults. It's very brave finding a quiet place inside your mind where you feel safe. But we're here now, Rose. The real world is safe again. Slowly, deliberately, Olivia placed her hand palm up on the sofa beside Rose, an invitation, not a demand. Minutes passed in patient silence. Then, like a tentative woodland creature, Rose's small hand crept toward Olivia's and finally rested within it. There you are, Olivia whispered with a smile. Welcome back. Rose's eyes focused gradually, recognition returning. You came back, she said, her voice small but present. Of course we did, Olivia assured her. We'll always come back for you and Lily. We saw her on TV, Lily explained, her young face hardening with an anger no 6-year-old should know. Vanessa was pretending to cry about us. She called herself our mother. She's not our mother, Rose whispered fiercely. Our mother is in heaven. Vanessa is a monster. We know that, James said, sitting across from them, and soon everyone else will know it too. We found your father's special box. It contained all the proof he'd been collecting. The breadcrumbs? Lily nodded with solemn understanding. Exactly, Olivia confirmed. And now we're going to meet with someone who can help us use that proof to protect your father and make sure Vanessa can never hurt anyone again. A police person, Rose asked, shrinking slightly. A special kind of investigator? Olivia clarified. Someone who helps children and makes sure they're heard. She wants to talk to you both about what's been happening with Vanessa. The twins exchanged their silent communication again. Will you stay with us? Lily asked finally. The entire time, Olivia promised. I won't leave your side. And then we could see Daddy, Rose asked, hope flickering in her green eyes. Olivia looked to James, who nodded slightly. Once we've talked to the investigator, we'll work on making that happen. Your father is being protected now by special agents who won't let Vanessa near him. This seemed to satisfy the twins. Rose's color gradually returned, and she accepted the sandwich Sophia prepared. As the children ate, the adults stepped onto the porch to speak privately. How bad was the panic attack? Olivia asked. Hyperventilation, trembling, crying, Sophia reported. She kept saying, she's going to find us, over and over. Lily talked her through it better than I could. They have their own way of communicating. It's common with twins, Olivia noted, especially those who've experienced trauma together. Will they be able to handle the interview? James asked. Children are remarkably resilient, Olivia replied. Rose's retreat into herself was actually a healthy coping mechanism, her mind protecting itself from overwhelming fear. Now that she's processed those emotions, she may actually be more capable of discussing Vanessa than before. We should leave within the hour to reach White Plains by 3, James decided. I'll contact Maxwell to confirm the arrangements. While James made his calls, Olivia helped the twins prepare for the journey. She explained in simple, honest terms what would happen at the interview, assuring them they could take breaks whenever needed, and that she would remain beside them throughout. Will we have to see pictures of her? Rose asked as Olivia helped her tie her shoes. I don't know, Olivia admitted. They might show you some photographs to confirm what you're telling them. I don't want to see her face, Rose whispered. Then we'll tell them that, Olivia said firmly. You have rights, Rose. Even though you're 6 years old, you have the right to say what feels safe and what doesn't. Daddy always says we're the bosses of our own bodies. Lily added, her chin lifting slightly. Nobody gets to hurt us or make us do things that feel wrong. Your daddy is very wise. Olivia smiled, marveling at Daniel's parenting, despite never having met him conscious. The care he'd taken to empower his daughters, even at their young age, spoke volumes about his character. They departed for White Plains at 2 o'clock, the twins secured in booster seats in the back of James's Audi. Sophia remained at the safe house, continuing to monitor news reports and hospital updates through her contacts. As promised, an unmarked federal vehicle followed at a discreet distance, protection that brought both comfort and a stark reminder of the danger still surrounding them. The FBI's satellite office in White Plains occupied part of a modern office building, its presence indicated only by a modest plaque beside the elevator. Agent Maxwell met them in the parking garage, personally escorting them through a private entrance. The interview room is set up to be as comfortable as possible, she explained as they rode the elevator. Dr. Hartley, our child psychologist, is already waiting. She's excellent with traumatized children. The twins pressed closer to Olivia in the elevator, their earlier bravery wavering in the face of the unknown. Lily's hand found Olivia's, while Rose tucked herself against Olivia's side, half hidden. It's okay to be nervous, Olivia assured them. This is new and different. But remember, you're just going to tell the truth about what happened. That's all anyone wants from you. The interview room looked nothing like the stark interrogation chambers of television crime shows. Instead, it resembled a comfortable living room with soft couches, warm lighting, and a table with art supplies. A woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a gentle smile rose to greet them. Hello, Lily and Rose. I'm Dr. Hartley. You can call me Susan if you'd like. Her voice was warm but not condescending. I understand you have some important things to tell us about your stepmother. The twins looked to Olivia, who nodded encouragingly. Dr. Hartley helps children who have had scary experiences, she explained. She's very good at listening. Does she know about the breadcrumbs? Lily asked suddenly. I do, Dr. Hartley confirmed. Agent Maxwell told me about the special evidence your father collected. That was very brave of him. He did it to protect us, Rose said, her voice gaining strength. Because Vanessa is mean when Daddy can't see. That's exactly what we'd like to hear about, Dr. Hartley said. Would you like to sit down? You can draw while we talk if that makes it easier. The interview proceeded with remarkable gentleness. Dr. Hartley asked questions with patient skill, allowing the twins to answer in their own time, never pushing when they hesitated. Lily, the more forthright of the pair, described specific incidents of Vanessa's abuse, painful pinches in hidden places, whispered threats when Daniel was away, punishments, like being locked in closets or deprived of meals for minor infractions. Rose, initially hesitant, gradually opened up about the psychological torment, how Vanessa would tell her she was stupid, that her father was only pretending to love them, that without their real mother, they were nothing but burdens. She told us if we ever said anything, she would hurt Daddy. Rose said, her small voice steady despite the horror of what she described. And then she did. She pushed him down the stairs. We saw her. Can you tell me exactly what you saw, Doctor? Hartley asked gently. The twins described hiding on the upper landing that night, hearing raised voices. Their father had confronted Vanessa about something on his computer files he'd found. Vanessa had laughed a sound the girls described as, like ice breaking, and then there was a scuffle, followed by the terrible tumbling sound of a body falling down the stairs. She came upstairs after Lily reported, her hand tightly gripping her sister's. She saw us watching. She smiled and said, accidents happen all the time. Remember that, little ones? Throughout the interview, Olivia remained beside the twins, occasionally squeezing a small hand or offering an encouraging nod. The professional part of her mind recognized the classic patterns of abuse in their testimony, while the emotional part raged at what these children had endured. After 2 hours, Dr. Hartley gently concluded the interview. You've both been incredibly brave, she told the twins. The things you've shared today will help us make sure Vanessa can't hurt you or your father anymore. Once the twins were settled in an adjoining room with a child welfare officer and snacks, the adults convened to discuss next steps. Their testimony is compelling and consistent, Dr. Hartley reported. Both children show classic signs of abuse, survivors, hypervigilance, fear responses, protective bonding. There's no indication they've been coached or are fabricating these accounts. Combined with the evidence from Daniel's investigation, we have enough for arrest warrants, Maxwell confirmed. Not just for the assault on Daniel, but potentially for the deaths of her previous husbands. What about Elizabeth Reynolds? James asked. Daniel clearly suspected Vanessa was somehow involved. That's more circumstantial, Maxwell admitted. The earring places her at the scene, but without additional evidence, it's harder to prove criminal involvement in what was medically ruled a natural death. The twins need protection until Vanessa is in custody, Olivia insisted, and Daniel remains vulnerable in the hospital. We've upgraded security around Mr. Reynolds, Maxwell assured them. As for the twins, we have 2 options. They can enter formal protective custody with the FBI, or they can remain in your care with protective surveillance, Dr. Winters. They should stay with Olivia, James said immediately. Placing them with strangers now would cause additional trauma. I agree, Dr. Hartley added. The girls have formed a strong attachment to Dr. Winters. She represents safety in their current understanding of the world. Are you willing to continue this responsibility? Maxwell asked Olivia directly. It comes with significant risk. Olivia thought of the small hands that had reached for hers, the trust in those green eyes, the bravery these children had shown in the face of unimaginable fear. Yes, she said without hesitation. I'll keep them safe until their father recovers. Then we'll proceed with the arrest, Maxwell decided. We'll move against Vanessa Reynolds tonight when she returns to the mansion. Less public, more controlled than attempting to take her at the hospital. As they finalized the operational details, a commotion erupted in the hallway. The door burst open, revealing an agitated agent. Agent Maxwell, we have a situation. Vanessa Reynolds has left Manhattan Memorial. According to hospital security, She received a phone call and departed immediately. Her security detail reported she mentioned something about finding the girls before she left. Maxwell's expression hardened. How long ago? Approximately 30 minutes. We have teams tracking her movement, but she switched vehicles in a parking garage. We're working to re-establish visual. A cold dread settled in Olivia's stomach. She knows where we are. That's not possible, James insisted. The safe house location is completely secure. The interview, Olivia realized. Someone must have leaked our meeting here. Maxwell was already moving. We need to relocate the children immediately. If she's compromised this location, the building's fire alarm suddenly blared to life, its shrieking wail cutting through the room. Red emergency lights began to strobe. Standard protocol during fire alarms is building evacuation, Maxwell said sharply. It's a perfect opportunity for someone to create confusion and gain access. This is not a coincidence. The twins, Olivia gasped, already running toward the adjoining room. The scene inside sent her heart plummeting. The child welfare officer lay unconscious on the floor. The room's window stood open, curtains billowing in the autumn breeze. Of the twins, there was no sign. They're gone, she whispered in horror. Maxwell was immediately on her radio, coordinating response teams and lockdown protocols. James knelt beside the unconscious officer, checking her pulse. She's alive, he reported. Appears to be drugged, not injured. Olivia moved to the open window. They were on the second floor, overlooking an alley where service vehicles made deliveries. A fire escape provided easy access from the window to the ground. Vanessa couldn't have done this alone, she realized. She had help, professional help. The men in the surveillance photos, James agreed grimly. She's been working with accomplices all along. Agent Maxwell joined them at the window, her face tight with controlled fury. Building security cameras show two men in maintenance uniforms escorting the twins through a service exit 3 minutes ago. They entered a van with commercial signage. She planned this, Olivia said, the truth crystallizing with terrible clarity. The press conference, the panic attack, they were diversions. She wanted us to bring the twins out of hiding. We played right into her hands, James acknowledged bitterly. No, Maxwell countered. This suggests she's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. We have every law enforcement agency in the tri-state area on alert now. Those children will be found. But Olivia's mind was racing beyond the standard law enforcement response. Something about this calculated abduction nagged at her professional instincts. Vanessa hadn't just snatched the twins, she had orchestrated an elaborate extraction suggesting premeditation and purpose. She's not running, Olivia said suddenly. Not yet. What do you mean? James asked. This isn't just about silencing the twins or escaping justice. Vanessa wants something else, something worth the risk of such a public abduction. Daniel's money, Maxwell suggested. She needs the twins as leverage. No. Olivia shook her head. She's too smart for that. She knows taking the children makes her a fugitive. This is about something more immediate. The safe deposit box, James realized. She knows Daniel collected evidence. She needs to destroy it before we can use it against her. But we already have that evidence, Maxwell pointed out. It's secured. Olivia's blood ran cold as the pieces clicked into place. The box we found wasn't everything. The twins kept talking about breadcrumbs, plural. Daniel created a trail, not a single destination. The mansion, James breathed. There must be more evidence hidden there, something even more damning. And she's using the twins to find it, Olivia concluded. They know all their father's hiding places. Maxwell was already activating tactical response protocols, her voice carrying the unmistakable tone of command. I need immediate surveillance on the Reynolds mansion. No one approaches without my authorization. Prepare for potential hostage situation. As law enforcement machinery whirred into action around them, Olivia stood at the window staring at the empty alley below. The twins had trusted her to keep them safe. She had promised they wouldn't face Vanessa again. Now they were in the hands of the very monster they feared most. The protector had failed. But as despair threatened to overwhelm her, Olivia felt something else rise within her, a fierce determination born from the same instincts that had driven her to rescue countless injured animals, to fight for creatures who couldn't defend themselves. The twins needed her now more than ever, and somehow she would find them. I'm coming with you, she told Maxwell, her voice leaving no room for argument. This is a federal operation, Dr. Winters. Civilians cannot. Those girls trust me. If they're frightened or hurt, I'm the one they'll respond to. Olivia stepped closer, her gaze locking with the agent's. You know I'm right. Maxwell held her stare for a long moment before nodding curtly. You stay in the command vehicle. You do not enter the premises under any circumstances without direct authorization. Is that clear? Perfectly. As they moved toward the exit, Olivia's phone chimed with an incoming message. The number was unfamiliar, but the text froze her mid-stride. If you want to see the little angels alive again, come alone to the gazebo behind the mansion. No police, no James, just you, Olivia, or I'll finish what I started with their dear daddy, and this time there won't be anyone to save him. V. Attached was a photo taken moments ago. The twins huddled together in what appeared to be a car trunk, tear-streaked faces filled with terror, a gloved hand holding a syringe visible at the edge of the frame. Olivia stared at the message, her heart pounding. Tell Maxwell and risk the twins' lives. Go alone and walk into an obvious trap. No good options, only impossible choices. The protector faced her ultimate test. The autumn sun was setting behind the Reynolds mansion, casting long shadows across the manicured grounds. Olivia sat alone in her car at the edge of the estate's vast property, the message from Vanessa still glowing on her phone screen. The image of the frightened twins haunted her, their tear-stained faces pleading for rescue. She had slipped away during the chaos following the abduction, telling no one of Vanessa's ultimatum. Not James, not Agent Maxwell, not the tactical team assembling at the FBI command post. The weight of her decision pressed against her chest like a physical force. Going alone was madness. Vanessa Reynolds had murdered at least 3 husbands, likely killed. Elizabeth attempted to murder Daniel and orchestrated the twins' abduction with professional precision. She was meticulous, ruthless, and utterly without conscience. But the alternative was unthinkable. The image of that syringe hovering near the twin burned in Olivia's mind. Rose and Lily had already endured so much. They had been brave, beyond their years, trusted adults who had failed to protect them time and again. Olivia refused to be another name on that list. The grounds of the Reynolds estate stretched before her 20 acres of landscape perfection. Security cameras monitored the main entrance and perimeter fence, but Olivia had no intention of approaching from the obvious route. During their mission to retrieve Daniel's hidden box, James had mentioned the service tunnel. There would be other such entrances on a property this size, passages designed for the invisible movement of staff, forgotten remnants of an earlier age when wealth demanded discretion. Her veterinary emergency kit lay on the passenger seat beside her. Inside were sedatives, syringes, and other medical necessities normally reserved for injured animals. Tonight, they might serve a different purpose. Olivia checked her watch, 30 minutes until the FBI would realize she was missing. Perhaps less if James became suspicious sooner. She needed to move. The estate backed onto a nature preserve, a deliberate buffer that Daniel had maintained against neighboring development. Olivia parked her car on a maintenance access road and continued on foot, following the border, where manicured lawn met wild forest. Her dark clothing blended with the deepening shadows as she moved silently toward the southern edge of the property. There, partially concealed by a grove of ancient oak trees, stood the gazebo, a white Victorian structure that in daylight would appear charming and innocent. Tonight, in the gathering darkness, it seemed ominous, a pale specter awaiting her arrival. Olivia paused at the tree line, scanning for movement for watchers. The gazebo appeared empty, but she knew better than to trust appearances where Vanessa was concerned. Her phone vibrated, a text message from the same unknown number. Smart girl coming alone. Approach the gazebo from the east side. Remember any sign of police and the little angels pay the price. The calculated coldness of the message sent a chill through Olivia's body. She was being watched, her movements tracked with the same predatory precision Vanessa had employed in selecting and eliminating her husbands. Olivia stepped from the shelter of the trees, exposing herself deliberately as she walked the curved stone path toward the gazebo. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but her steps remained steady, her face composed. She would not show fear. Not to this woman who fed on it. The gazebo was empty when she arrived, its white lattice gleaming in the last light of day. A single wrought iron bench occupied the center, and upon it lay a child's hair ribbon, Rose's, the pale blue one she'd worn earlier that day. "Hello, Dr. Winters." The voice came from behind her, smooth and cultured. Olivia turned slowly to face Vanessa Reynolds in person for the first time. She was beautiful in the way that deadly things often are, sleek, polished, perfect. Her blonde hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon, her black pantsuit impeccably tailored. She might have stepped from the pages of a fashion magazine, were it not for the coldness in her blue eyes, a predator's gaze assessing and calculating. "Where are the girls?" Olivia asked, keeping her voice level. "Safe for the moment." Vanessa smiled, the expression never reaching her eyes. "You've caused me considerable inconvenience, De Winters. Taking my stepdaughters, interfering in my marriage, conspiring with the FBI. You tried to kill Daniel. You've been abusing his daughters. Accusations without proof." Vanessa dismissed with a wave of her manicured hand. "Although I must admit Daniel was more thorough than my previous husbands. Usually they're so besotted they never see past the facade until it's far too late." "The safe deposit box," Olivia said. "We found it. All the evidence, the birth certificates, the financial records, the pattern of deaths. It's over, Vanessa, or whatever your real name is." Something dangerous flickered across Vanessa's perfect features. "Miranda," she said after a moment. "Miranda Blackwell. Not that it matters now." "Where are the twins?" Olivia repeated. "Close by, waiting for our little transaction to conclude." Vanessa reached into her jacket and withdrew a small revolver, its barrel catching the last gleam of daylight. "You see, Daniel was indeed thorough, but not quite thorough enough. He left one final piece of evidence, something that could destroy everything I've built. The twins know where it is. And you need them to find it," Olivia concluded. "They're being stubborn, especially the quiet one, Rose. She's stronger than she looks." A flash of genuine annoyance crossed Vanessa's face. "But children respond to incentives, like keeping the nice veterinarian lady alive, for instance." The realization struck Olivia with sickening clarity. "You're using me as leverage against them." "Smart as well as brave. I can see why Daniel chose you as his contingency plan." Vanessa gestured with the revolver. "Now shall we reunite you with those precious little girls they've been asking for you? Crying, actually. Most annoying. If you hurt them, you'll what?" Vanessa's laugh was musical chilling. "You're not in a position to make threats, Dr. Winters. But rest assured I have no interest in harming the twins unnecessarily. Once I have what I need, they become collateral. Tragic victims of the same kidnapper who took their lives before taking her own in remorse." She smiled coldly. "The grieving widow left to pick up the pieces and inherit the Reynolds fortune." Olivia felt her blood freeze at the casual way Vanessa outlined her plans for murder and deception. This woman had done this before, had perfected her methodology through practice, had left a trail of bodies and broken families in her wake. "Move," Vanessa ordered, gesturing toward a path leading away from the mansion. "My associate is waiting with the car. And Dr. Winters, don't consider attempting anything heroic. I've killed before. It gets easier each time." The path led them deeper into the wooded area of the estate, away from the main house and grounds. Olivia walked ahead, acutely aware of the revolver pointed at her back, her mind racing to formulate a plan. She needed to see the twins, assess their condition, find an opening. A black SUV waited in a small clearing, its engine idling. Behind the wheel sat a broad-shouldered man with a military-style haircut and dead eyes. The rear hatch stood open. "In," Vanessa directed. As Olivia approached the vehicle, she caught a glimpse of the twins huddled in the cargo area. Their wrists were bound with plastic zip ties, their mouths covered with duct tape. Rose's eyes widened at the sight of Olivia, while Lily's narrowed with something that looked remarkably like calculation rather than fear. "Dr. Winters has agreed to help us," Vanessa announced as Olivia climbed into the SUV. "Haven't you, Doctor?" Olivia ignored her, focusing instead on the twins. "Are you hurt?" she asked softly. Both girls shook their heads, their eyes communicating volumes. Rose looked frightened but resolute. Lily surprisingly appeared almost composed, watchful, alert. They were terrified but unbroken. "How touching," Vanessa mocked, sliding into the passenger seat. "Drive, Eric." The SUV moved forward along a narrow access road deeper into the wooded portion of the estate. Olivia noted their direction, trying to map their location in her mind. They weren't leaving the property they were heading toward, its northwestern corner. "Where are we going?" she asked. "The old carriage house," Vanessa replied casually. Daniel's great-grandfather built it when the estate was first constructed. Mostly unused now, tucked away where the noise won't carry. The perfect place for our little treasure hunt. The carriage house emerged from the trees, a stately brick structure with arched doorways large enough for horse-drawn vehicles of another era. Its windows were dark, its appearance neglected compared to the meticulously maintained mansion. The SUV pulled alongside it, the headlights illuminating weathered doors. "Out," Vanessa ordered. Eric, the driver, moved with practiced efficiency. He retrieved the twins from the cargo area, cutting their ankle restraints, but leaving their wrists bound, then removed the tape from their mouths. Neither child made a sound, their discipline speaking volumes about the fear Vanessa had instilled in them. "Inside," Vanessa directed, her revolver now aimed at Olivia's heart. "And remember, one wrong move and Dr. Winters receives a bullet. Would you like to watch her die, children?" I didn't think so. The interior of the carriage house was cavernous, its high ceiling lost in shadows. Old carriages and vintage automobiles stood like ghosts from another era, draped in dust covers. A single light illuminated a makeshift table where Eric deposited the twins. "Now," Vanessa said pleasantly, as if hosting a garden party. "Where is Daddy's special hiding place in this building, the one he showed you last summer when you were playing explorers?" The twins remained silent, their small faces set in identical expressions of defiance. "Perhaps Dr. Winters can help you remember," Vanessa suggested, pressing the revolver against Olivia's temple. "Shall I count to 3, 1? "Stop!" Lily cried. "It's behind the old red car, the one Daddy said belonged to great-grandpa." "Show me," Vanessa ordered. Eric gripped Olivia's arm painfully while Vanessa followed Lily to a dust-covered vehicle in the corner. Rose remained at the table, her green eyes never leaving Olivia's face. "There's a loose brick in the wall," Lily explained, pointing to the aged masonry. "Daddy said it was a special place for special treasures." Vanessa knelt, her elegant fingers probing the wall until a brick moved. From the cavity behind it, she withdrew a small metal box. "The combination," she demanded. "I don't know," Lily insisted. "Daddy never told us that part." Vanessa's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Don't lie to me, child." "She's not lying," Rose's quiet voice carried across the space. "Daddy said some secrets were just for grown-ups." Vanessa returned to the table, the metal box in one hand, her revolver in the other. "No matter. There are ways to open locked boxes." She set the box on the table and nodded to Eric, who produced a small toolkit from his jacket. As he worked on the lock, Vanessa kept her revolver trained on Olivia. "What I don't understand," Olivia said, seeking to distract Vanessa while assessing options for escape, "is why you targeted Daniel in the first place. Why the Reynolds family?" Vanessa's perfect features arranged themselves into a contemplative expression. "Daniel wasn't random, if that's what you're asking. None of them were. I select my husbands carefully, wealthy, of course, but also isolated in some way. Vulnerable. Daniel was perfect, successful, grieving with 2 small children, desperate for a mother's love." Her smile was reptilian. "Men are so predictable in their weaknesses." "But why kill Elizabeth? She was no threat to you." A flash of genuine surprise crossed Vanessa's face before she could mask it. "Clever girl," she murmured. "Daniel suspected, didn't he? But he could never prove it." "The earring," Olivia confirmed. "He found it after Elizabeth collapsed. Your DNA was on it." "A careless mistake," Vanessa acknowledged. "One I won't repeat. Elizabeth's death needed to appear natural, a tragic aneurysm in a woman with no previous health issues. The toxin is virtually undetectable unless specifically screened for, and why would they screen? A grieving husband doesn't question the unexpected death of his beloved wife. But Daniel did question it, eventually. Too late to save himself, Vanessa said coldly. Though I'll admit he's proven more resilient than expected. Most men don't survive that first fall. The casual way she discussed murder sent chills down Olivia's spine. This woman was beyond redemption, beyond reason. She was a predator in human form, seeing others only as prey. "Got it," Eric announced, the lock on the metal box finally yielding to his tools. Vanessa moved quickly, her attention momentarily diverted from Olivia as she reached for the box. Inside lay a single USB drive and a small vial of clear liquid. "What is this?" Vanessa demanded, lifting the vial. "The toxin you used on Elizabeth," came a new voice from the carriage house entrance. "Daniel had it analyzed by a private lab, matched it to traces found in her hairbrush after her death." James Morgan stood in the doorway, his normally impeccable suit dusty, his expression grim. Beside him, Agent Maxwell and two armed FBI agents moved into position, weapons drawn. "Federal agents, drop your weapon," Maxwell commanded. Everything happened at once. Eric lunged for the twins. Vanessa swung her revolver toward James. And Olivia, seeing her opportunity in the chaos, drove her elbow hard into Vanessa's ribs while simultaneously knocking the metal box from the table. The vial shattered on the concrete floor. The USB drive skittered away into shadows. Vanessa recovered with snake-like reflexes, grabbing Rose and pressing the revolver to her temple. "Back off or the child dies!" she snarled, all pretense of elegance abandoned. The room froze. Maxwell and her agents held their positions, weapons trained but unwilling to risk the child's life. James remained in the doorway, his face a mask of contained fury. Eric used the distraction to draw his own weapon, creating a standoff. "Let the child go, Vanessa," Maxwell said calmly. "There's no way out of this. We have the estate surrounded." "There's always a way out," Vanessa countered, backing toward the side door, dragging Rose with her. The little girl's face was pale with terror, her eyes locked on Olivia's in silent pleading. "Eric, bring the other one." "Don't do this," Olivia urged, taking a step forward, despite the revolver now wavering between her and Rose. "You're only making it worse. Think about what you're doing." "I'm surviving," Vanessa spat. "It's what I do. It's what I've always done." Something changed in Rose's expression, then a shift from fear to determination that seemed beyond her 6 years. She caught her twin's eye across the room, some silent communication passing between them. Then Rose went limp, her small body suddenly dead weight in Vanessa's grip. The unexpected move threw Vanessa off balance for a crucial second. Simultaneously, Lily stomped hard on Eric's instep, causing him to loosen his grip just enough for her to twist away. It was the opening they needed. Maxwell and her agents moved with coordinated precision. Two shots rang out, striking Eric in the shoulder and leg. He crumpled to the floor, his weapon clattering away. James lunged forward, tackling Vanessa before she could recover her aim, sending her revolver spinning across the concrete. Rose scrambled free, running straight to Olivia, who gathered her close, shielding the child's body with her own, as federal agents swarmed Vanessa. "You're safe now," Olivia whispered, her arms encircling Rose as Lily joined them, the three forming a tight knot of shared protection. "You're both safe. It's over." But the look Vanessa gave them as she was handcuffed and hauled to her feet contained such pure, concentrated hatred that Olivia instinctively tightened her embrace around the twins. This woman's evil might be contained, but it was far from extinguished. "Miranda Blackwell, you're under arrest for kidnapping, attempted murder, and suspicion of multiple homicides." Maxwell recited, her voice carrying the weight of justice long delayed. "You have the right to remain silent." As Vanessa was led away, still radiating cold fury, James approached Olivia and the twins. "Are you all right?" he asked, his usual composure rattled. "We will be," Olivia answered, feeling the twins' small bodies trembling against her. "How did you find us?" "I placed a tracker in your purse weeks ago," Rose whispered, her voice small but steady. "After Vanessa started saying mean things. Daddy showed me how." James and Olivia exchanged startled glances. "A tracker," Olivia repeated. Rose nodded solemnly. "Daddy said we should always have a way to call for help if we got separated. It's in the little bear charm on your keychain. I put it there at the safe house when you were talking to Mr. James." "Smart thinking, little one," James said, genuine admiration in his voice. "Your father would be very proud." "Can we see Daddy now?" Lily asked, her composure finally cracking as tears welled in her green eyes. "Please, we need to tell him we're okay." "Yes," Olivia promised, pressing a kiss to each small head. "We're going to see your father right now." Manhattan Memorial Hospital was hushed at this late hour, the corridors dimly lit for overnight patients. Olivia walked between the twins, each girl holding one of her hands, with James and Agent Maxwell following closely behind. Two FBI agents had been stationed outside Daniel Reynolds' room since Maxwell's team had deployed earlier that day. "Mr. Winters," the doctor greeted them at the nurse's station. "Mr. Morgan informed us you would be bringing Mr. Reynolds' daughters. I should prepare you. He's still weak, but he's been asking for the girls since he regained consciousness this afternoon." "He's awake." Lily's face transformed with joy. "Yes, and improving steadily," the doctor confirmed with a smile. "Though please keep the visit brief. He needs rest to recover fully." The twins needed no further encouragement. They tugged Olivia toward the room number. The doctor indicated, their small faces alight with anticipation. At the doorway, however, they hesitated, suddenly uncertain. "What if he looks scary?" Rose whispered, her earlier bravery faltering. "With machines and tubes, your daddy has some equipment helping him get better," Olivia explained gently. "But underneath all that, he's still your daddy who loves you very much. And he needs to see you both," James added. "Nothing would help him heal faster." Lily squared her small shoulders, her chin lifting in determination. "We can be brave," she decided, speaking for both of them, as she often did. "Daddy was brave for us. Now we'll be brave for him." They entered the room together, the twins still clutching Olivia's hands. Daniel Reynolds lay in the hospital bed, his tall frame appearing diminished against the white sheets. His face bore fading bruises from his fall, and an IV line ran into his arm. But his eyes, deep green like his daughter's, were alert and filled with emotion as they fell upon the twins. "My angels," he whispered, his voice rough from disuse. "Daddy," the twins cried in unison, releasing Olivia's hands to rush to his bedside. Daniel raised his arms weakly, and the girls carefully embraced him, mindful of the IV and monitoring equipment. The reunion was wordless for long moments, the father simply holding his daughters close, his eyes closed in profound relief. Olivia watched from the doorway, her own eyes filling with tears at the scene. She felt James's hand on her shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of the moment's power. "You found the breadcrumbs," Daniel said, finally looking up to meet Olivia's gaze over his daughters' heads. "You kept them safe." "They kept themselves safe, too," Olivia replied, stepping closer. "They're extraordinary children, Mr. Reynolds." "Daniel," he corrected, his voice gaining strength. "After all this, I think we're well past formalities, Dr. Winters." "Olivia," she returned with a small smile. "Vanessa is going to prison forever and ever," Lily announced, her face still pressed against her father's chest. "The FBI lady said so." "She can't hurt us anymore," Rose added, her quiet voice carrying absolute certainty for perhaps the first time since Olivia had met her. Daniel's arms tightened around his daughters. "No, she can't," he confirmed. "It's over now." But something in his expression as he looked at James suggested there were still loose ends to tie up, questions unanswered. The lawyer gave a slight nod, understanding passing between the old friends. "Girls, why don't we let your father and Olivia talk for a moment?" James suggested. "I think there's hot chocolate at the nurse's station, and I'm sure Agent Maxwell would love to hear how you helped catch the bad guys." The twins reluctantly disentangled themselves from their father, but not before extracting his promise that he would still be there when they returned. "5 minutes, Lily said sternly, her small face serious. "We're timing you." When the room cleared, Daniel's gaze returned to Olivia. Up close, she could see the intelligence in those green eyes, the same determination she'd observed in his daughters. Here was the man who had planned so carefully to protect his family, who had created breadcrumb trails and emergency protocols, who had taught his 6-year-old daughters to survive a predator. "I don't know how to thank you," he began. "There's no need," Olivia assured him. "Your daughters are remarkable. They found me exactly as you planned. When I realized what Vanessa was, what she'd done, I knew I needed help from someone outside my usual circles. Someone who would recognize the signs of abuse, who would believe the girls without question." Daniel shifted slightly, wincing at the movement. "Sophia mentioned you specialized in rescuing traumatized animals. I hoped you would extend that same compassion to my daughters." "Of course I would," Olivia said simply. "I should have acted sooner." Daniel admitted regret shadowing his features. The signs were there, the bruises Rose tried to hide, the way Lily became so protective. "I installed cameras, documented everything, but I was too cautious, too methodical. I nearly lost them because of it." "You were gathering evidence to ensure Vanessa couldn't escape justice," Olivia reminded him. "And you created safeguards that ultimately protected your daughters when things went wrong. The breadcrumbs worked, Daniel." He studied her face for a long moment. "James told me what happened at the carriage house. You went alone to face her." "I couldn't risk the twins' safety." "You could have been killed." "But I wasn't," Olivia said firmly, "and neither were Lily and Rose." Daniel's eyes never left hers. "Most people wouldn't have done what you did, risked everything for children they just met." "I'm not most people," Olivia replied with a small smile. "No," Daniel agreed softly. "You're definitely not. The door pushed open as the twins returned right on schedule, bearing paper cups of hot chocolate and determined expressions. "Time's up," Lily announced. "We brought you hot chocolate too," Rose added, carefully carrying an extra cup for Olivia. As the family reunited, James drew Olivia aside. "Maxwell wants a full debriefing tomorrow, but the preliminary charges against Vanessa are already substantial. With the evidence from the safe deposit box and what was recovered at the carriage house, she's facing multiple life sentences." "What about Elizabeth's death? Can they prove Vanessa was responsible?" "That will be more difficult," James acknowledged, "but they've ordered Elizabeth's body exhumed for additional testing, focusing specifically on the toxin Daniel identified. If they find traces, it adds another murder charge." "And Daniel, will he face any legal issues for the investigation he conducted privately?" "No, everything he did was legal, if unconventional. The DA understands his concerns about Vanessa's connections potentially compromising an official investigation." Olivia nodded, watching as Daniel showed his daughters how to adjust his hospital bed, their small faces alight with the simple joy of being with their father again. The nightmare that had enveloped this family was ending. Justice was being served, and healing could begin. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. James followed her gaze to the reunited family. "Daniel has a long recovery ahead. Physical therapy, probably some psychological counseling for all three of them. The twins will need stability routine. And someone who understands trauma," Olivia added, professional instinct surfacing. "Children that age don't simply bounce back from experiences like these without proper support." "Someone like you, perhaps," James suggested, his tone carefully neutral. Before Olivia could respond, Rose approached, her small face solemn. "Daddy wants to know if you'll come visit us tomorrow, and the next day, and maybe the day after that too." Despite everything, the danger, the exhaustion, the lingering tension of the confrontation with Vanessa, Olivia found herself smiling. "I think that can be arranged." "Good," Rose said decisively, taking Olivia's hand. "Lily said you might need convincing, but I knew you'd say yes." "Did you now?" Olivia asked, amused. Rose nodded, her green eyes wise beyond their years. "You're our protector. Protectors don't leave." The simple faith in those words struck Olivia deeply. In the span of 72 hours, her life had transformed completely. What had begun as a blind date had become something far more profound, a connection to two extraordinary children and their remarkable father, a family forged in adversity and resilience. As Rose led her back to Daniel's bedside, Olivia felt something settle within her soul. The certainty that whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them alongside this family who had claimed her heart with their courage and trust. 3 months later, the Reynolds mansion sparkled with Christmas decorations. Every window glowed with warm light, the massive pine tree in the great room laden with ornaments that told the story of a family's history and hope. Outside, snow blanketed the grounds, transforming the estate into a winter wonderland. In the kitchen, Olivia supervised as the twins decorated Christmas cookies, their small faces intent on their work. Rose's tongue protruded slightly in concentration as she carefully placed silver dragées along the edge of a star-shaped cookie. Lily worked more boldly, creating elaborate designs with colored icing. "These are going to be the best cookies Santa ever had," Lily declared, admiring her handiwork. "Absolutely," Olivia agreed, smiling as she wiped a smudge of blue icing from Rose's cheek. "Though perhaps we should save a few for your dad as well." "Daddy gets his own special cookies," Rose informed her seriously. "We're making them tomorrow, with extra chocolate chips." The sound of the front door opening sent the twins racing from the kitchen, leaving trails of flour and sugar in their wake. Olivia followed more sedately, wiping her hands on a dish towel as she entered the grand foyer. Daniel stood just inside the door, brushing snow from his coat. The twins had already attached themselves to his legs, chattering excitedly about their day's activities. He looked up as Olivia approached, his face warming with a smile that still made her heart skip. "How was physical therapy?" she asked, helping him out of his coat. "Progress," he reported. "Dr. Michael says another month and I should be back to full strength." The fall down the mansion's grand staircase had left Daniel with 2 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and a severe concussion. 3 months later, most of his physical injuries had healed, though he still walked with a slight limp on days when the weather turned cold. The psychological healing had been more complex. The twins still had nightmares, occasionally Rose more than Lily. Daniel wrestled with guilt over not protecting them sooner from Vanessa. But together, supported by professional counseling and surrounded by people who truly cared, the Reynolds family was mending. And somehow, almost imperceptibly, Olivia had become part of that healing process. What began as regular visits to the hospital had evolved into weekend stays at the mansion, then extended periods helping with the twins while Daniel recovered. Now her apartment in the city sat mostly vacant, her life increasingly centered on the family that had claimed her heart. James called, Daniel said, as they moved into the living room, the twins racing ahead to resume their interrupted artwork. Vanessa's trial date is set for February. The prosecution feels confident about the case. Olivia nodded, knowing this news represented another step toward closure. Miranda Blackwell, known to them as Vanessa Reynolds, faced multiple charges of murder, attempted murder, identity theft, fraud, kidnapping, and child abuse. The evidence against her was overwhelming her guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Justice would be served. Will the girls need to testify? Olivia asked, the protectiveness she felt for the twins surfacing immediately. No, their recorded statements are sufficient, along with Dr. Hartley's expert testimony. They won't have to face her again. Relief flooded through Olivia. Rose and Lily had shown remarkable resilience, but forcing them to confront their abuser in court would have reopened wounds that were only beginning to heal. And Elizabeth, she asked softly, knowing this remained the most painful aspect for Daniel. His expression tightened briefly. The toxicology results were conclusive. The same substance found in the vial at the carriage house was present in Elizabeth's exhumed remains. The murder charge has been added to Vanessa's indictment. Olivia reached for his hand, offering silent support. The confirmation that his first wife had been deliberately murdered had reopened grief that Daniel had thought long settled. Yet it also provided a measure of closure and answer to questions that had lingered in the darkest corners of his mind. "Come see our cookies," Lily called from the doorway, breaking the moment. "We made special ones just for you, Olivia." "Special cookies for me," Olivia answered, allowing herself to be drawn back into the present moment, the joy that balanced the shadows of the past. "I'm honored." The evening unfolded with the comfortable rhythm they had established over the past months. Dinner at the massive kitchen table rather than the formal dining room. Bath time for the twins with the requisite splashing and giggles. Story time in the girls' bedroom, where Daniel's rich voice brought characters to life as Olivia and the twins snuggled together on Rose's bed. After the twins finally succumbed to sleep, Daniel and Olivia retreated to the library, where a fire crackled in the hearth and 2 glasses of wine awaited them. This too had become part of their routine, a quiet hour together after the day's demands, sometimes talking, sometimes simply enjoying the companionable silence. "I've been meaning to ask you something," Daniel said after a comfortable pause. Olivia looked up from her wine glass, curiosity piqued by the slight tension in his voice. "What is it?" "Your lease in the city. When does it expire?" "End of January," she replied, wondering at the question. "Why, Daniel set his wine glass down carefully. "It seems inefficient maintaining an apartment you rarely use, especially when there's so much space here." Olivia felt her pulse quicken. "Are you asking me to move in, Daniel Reynolds?" "I'm suggesting it might be practical," he hedged, though the warmth in his eyes belied the casualness of his words. "The twins would be ecstatic. They already consider you family." "And you," Olivia pressed gently, "what do you consider me?" Daniel moved from his chair to sit beside her on the sofa, taking her hands in his. "Essential," he said simply. "These past months, watching you with the girls, seeing how you've helped them heal, how you've helped all of us heal. I can't imagine our lives without you now, Olivia." The honesty in his voice touched her deeply. This was not a man given to casual sentiment or easy declarations. Daniel Reynolds measured his words as carefully as he measured everything else in his life. "It's been less than 4 months," Olivia reminded him, though her heart was already answering his unspoken question. "4 months under extraordinary circumstances," Daniel countered. "We faced more together in that time than most couples face in years." "Is that what we are, a couple?" Daniel's smile reached his eyes, crinkling the corners in the way she had come to love. "I'd like us to be, though I understand if you need more time." Olivia thought of her life before the Reynolds family had entered it, successful but solitary, focused entirely on her veterinary practice. And she thought of the past months, chaotic, challenging, filled with healing and laughter, and the love of 2 extraordinary little girls. "I don't need more time," she decided. "I know what I want." And what's that? This, Olivia said simply. You, the twins, all of it. Daniel's relief was palpable, his shoulders relaxing as he drew her closer. The girls will be thrilled. They've been plotting this, you know. I overheard them discussing how to convince you to stay forever. Olivia laughed, imagining the twins' earnest strategizing. They're your daughters, all right, always 3 steps ahead with their plans. Our daughters, Daniel corrected gently, if you'll have us. The words settled in Olivia's heart like a key turning in a lock. Our, a family formed not through blood, but through choice, through shared adversity and triumph, through love that had bloomed in the most unexpected circumstances. Our daughters, she agreed, leaning forward to seal the promise with a kiss. Outside the library window, snow continued to fall, blanketing the Reynolds estate in pristine white. Inside by firelight, a new chapter began for a family that had weathered the darkest of storms and emerged stronger for it. The protector had found her home. The protected had become protectors in turn. And together they would face whatever challenges the future might bring, united by bonds forged in the crucible of survival and strengthened by the daily miracles of love and healing. Some called it fate that 2 frightened little girls had found Olivia Winters in a coffee shop that autumn day. Others might call it the careful planning of a father desperate to save his children. But Olivia knew it for what it truly was, the beginning of a journey that had led her exactly where she belonged. Home at last.